we're getting ready
Okay.
to start the school year, just curious, in your mind, obviously there's so many things that there will be, I guess, time to focus on throughout the year. But for you, as you're coming in, what is your number one priority? What's the thing that you want to focus on this year?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the question. The number one thing that I want to focus on is establishing relationships and rebuilding trust across our community. I think when we have that in place, then we can get to the heart of teaching and learning and supporting our educators and supporting our educators and our support staff in the ways that we need to.
I know that there have been struggles when it comes to reading and math. How
Yeah.
do you plan to address those deficits? I mean, that we've seen statewide here in Portland Public.
Yeah, well, I will say that learning loss during and after the pandemic was real. Many of our students were impacted and continue to be impacted to this day. It's not okay for us to have any percentage of our students not reading at grade level or being able to be competitive in the classroom with their peers across the nation. And so we're leaning into work around literacy. I'll be launching a campaign across our city on lifting literacy and what that means in our schools and the way in which business partners and nonprofits can lean into that work. I'm also excited that, over the last couple of years, we've been adopting high quality instructional materials and resources so that in the hands of every single one of our teachers are quality instructional materials to really get to the heart of the learning that needs to happen in classrooms. And I would just say another priority and another thing that I'll be leaning into is making sure that all of our classrooms are safe and that they're clean and that they're supported, right? So, not just from the facility standpoint, but also for safety. Like, I want our families to know that you can send our babies to us and we're going to work hard to make sure that they're safe, that they're well supported, and that they're in environments that are conducive to learning.
And so that campaign that you mentioned, does that mean any specific changes? I mean, you're talking about literacy and
Yeah.
how important that is, but what changes would that campaign make?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I think about the literacy campaign, I think about opportunities to do some things differently. First, we do have some dollars that we receive from the state for early literacy. We have teachers engaged in the science of reading materials and training, so we know that we are leaning into best practices in our classrooms. And I think it creates the opportunity for all of us to come together in support of reading in all of our classrooms, and not just in elementary, but in middle and high school classrooms as well.
And you had just mentioned the money that you get from the state for early literacy programs, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. I mean, do you think that Portland Public is getting enough state money when it comes to education? And if not, then what will you be doing to try to get more funding for this district?
Yeah, well, first let me say we've received a generous grant for early literacy in the campaign that our governor and others in the Office of Education or the Oregon Department of Education has put forth, and that has been extremely helpful. We have other supplemental funding that has been able to help us close gaps in some areas and offer programming. But when it comes to our current service level funding, it's not adequate, right? And we need to lean into that conversation. I know that our mayor has opened up a conversation about potentially increasing funding for the current service level, and we're really looking forward to continuing that. But I also know that it's going to take many of us coming together to share our stories, to share the realities of our classrooms, and making sure that every one of our employees are supported to do the work that they're hired to do, that they, maybe grew up dreaming about doing. And that's going to take more funding.
And I think you had mentioned that you were in contact with the mayor. Have you been in contact with any state legislators to talk about some of these issues that you plan to, kind of bring to the forefront a little bit more, like the state funding?
I'm part of a work group that's hosted by the Coalition of Oregon School Administrators. And what it's doing is pulling together superintendents of some of the largest districts in the state to have conversations about priorities and to be aligned in what those recommendations are that we have for our legislators, and making sure that we're getting the conversation in front of the right people about what our needs are and what's needed to be able to support our classrooms. And I am excited that I've been in those meetings already after only 30 days on the job, and I just look forward to being in more of those conversations. After 6 weeks on the job.
6 weeks.
I was like, wait a minute,
You're
it's
like,
been
wait.
more than 30 days. It feels like day 5 sometimes, but yes.
I mean,
No,
yeah, I'm sure
right.
you're still getting your feet wet, learning, where everything is, all that.
Yeah.
And then when in regards to student absenteeism, I know that there is data that show last school year, I want to say it's like 36% in Portland Public Schools.
Yeah.
It was, you saw some student absenteeism rates to that effect. What might you be doing this upcoming year to try to change that?
I will tell you that I do believe that students need to be in the classrooms to learn. And I know that many educators across our city believe that. And we want our students to not only show up, but to be involved in the learning that's happening. We have robust campaigns and a ton of support personnel whose whole job is to make sure that they're removing barriers for students and being able to support students through their life crisis or any other situation that they're dealing with, so that they can be in attendance at school, accessing the materials. One of the things that I think about as an example is food. I'm super excited that we were able to announce last week that we will have free breakfast and lunch for every single one of our students. Food will not be a barrier for our students during the day.
Okay, perfect. And in regards to that absenteeism question, do you have like a specific plan in place? I know that you already have people. You've got people who are working on it. Is that going to be expanded at all? Or is it just kind of like, hey, we've got the people and they're just going to keep hitting it as hard as they can sort of deal?
Yeah, when I think about the relationships and when I think about our priority on literacy, when I think about the experiences in classrooms for our students, I think about the motivators for students to have them excited to attend, with a desire to attend, unless there is some other like health impact or something that prevents them from attending a school during a day. I do believe that our work for getting our students to increase their attendance starts with quality experiences in the classroom and in their school. That could be involving our students in clubs and activities. It could be, as I said, the support with mental health and other resources, right? With the food, being able to access that. And I think being connected to adults who care about our students. And I know that many of our educators across the city, they get into this work because of their desire to help students reach their full potential. And I think it's that work that helps us then create the conditions for students to attend.